All right, man. I took a look at your shooting, and I have to say, very impressive performance. Shooting very quickly, and I like all that stuff. That's very nice. Now you've already watched Joel's transition video. That's a big one to watch. That's excellent to understand. I'm going to add some color to that, and yeah, so give you some more specific feedback. By the way, your times on this, I mean, I don't know that the times need to be. They don't need to be a lot better from a time perspective. You're knocking this one down. My concern would be more the points up close and so on. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. Here's the first bit of feedback I got for you here. So this is an example of a drag on because I can see where both of the bullets impacting in different spots on the berm. So it looks to me like you're dragging the shots on there. Now you knew that. You know you're dragging on. One thing that you should keep in mind that can cause this is switching your vision. It doesn't, by the way, there's no indication in the video specifically that you're doing this. But I have to mention it. It could be that if you look at the dot and then throw the dot over into this target, so like you throw red into brown and start shooting on the way in, if that makes sense to you, like that's what you're visually seeing. You see that red dot on the plate and you're like, yeah, cool, I'm done here. And then you're looking at the red and you push the red into brown and start shooting, you're going to get this effect that you've got here. Make sure, of course, you look onto the target and don't just look at the shape or the color of the target. This is probably the most important change that you'd make in your technique here. Don't look at brown. Don't look at the robot head target. Instead, look to a particular point, and that becomes your target. And then when you see color on that spot, start shooting. Okay, that would be how to mitigate this dragging on issue. But knowing that you're doing it's enough. But again, two things there. Number one, redefine the target as this particular spot at the center of the paper, and it's not the color and not the shape. Make sure you're not looking at that. And then, of course, make sure that you're not switching your vision onto the dot when you're looking at the more precise shot. I don't have a specific indication that you're doing that, but it is something that can happen and something you should watch out for. I noticed a few kind of wonky where you draw the gun, first shot went probably a little low, went over there, and then second shot went up to a different spot. Like, see that? Like one puff here, one puff of dirt there. That stuff makes me nervous. On a drill like this, especially given the times you're shooting, this should be a very consistent thing where you're nailing down the points up close and you're not getting hung up on the steel. And let's say if I put a number on it, I would rather a 2.5 with 98% of the points on average than a 2.3 or a 2.2 or something like that. Like shooting carry optics especially, you want to get in the habit of nailing down the alphas when they're this easy to get. So that means you're not going to be shooting with a fucked up grip when you're drawing. If that makes sense to you. Here you gave some verbal feedback. I want to zoom this.
I'm firing too early as I'm pulling on. I can see that the delta on the right side as I was pulling.
Yeah, okay, so you definitely understand what's happening. And again, think in terms of visually redefining the target. You know? Not like, oh, I need to wait longer to shoot, but instead it's like, no. The color brown is not my target. It's a spot in the center. It's that spot and only that spot. And that will clean up your points a lot. I think that will really give you some help. Because that typically works for just about anyone when they're shooting generally too loose. Now, the interesting thing from this angle is we can see what's going on with the gun and head movement. So I'm looking for any extra stuff. So the gun moves straight up. Even though it's pixelated, it doesn't appear to be moving. Boom, that first shot goes. Gun transitions over. First shot's off, second shot's off. Gun moves, and you're firing two. Like the reps looked real clean from this angle. By this point in the session, I think you'd cleaned up a lot of the dragging on and dragging off. So here, previously discussed, dragging on looks like quite a bit of that. And this, I should tell you, given the skill level that you're exhibiting on the rest of the exercise, this should have your attention. Like, this is the exercise now, is to shoot it as proficiently as you are and just cut this bullshit out. because you're just going to get more points for free in a match. Here, I am suspicious of over transitioning as well. So that's another thing to watch out for, that you're throwing the gun too hard over, or perhaps looking off to the left, even though I think that's unlikely. Great training, good video. Keep doing what you're doing, man.